right, we'll call to order Safety and Public Works. It is January 16th, 2024 in Brainerd City Council chambers. We have 6 items tonight, first of which is the event street closure application for the March for Life. And this is Jesse Dean, Public Works Director. Take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is an annual event. They're requesting essentially a lane closure on Highway 371 Business or South 6th Street. Proceeds from the corner of Oak and 6th, comes up to Laurel, and then heads over to the courthouse. They utilize some assistance from our police department to assist with traffic control. It's a pretty short event. It's only about 15 to 30 minutes. And we've never had any issues so far as my knowledge.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah, Jeff.
You know the date's wrong. You put in your agenda request. It's Sunday the 11th, 2023. It's actually Monday the 11th.
Monday the 11th?
I'm sorry, 22nd.
22nd,
It's
yep,
Sunday,
Monday, correct, yep.
Yeah. so
2024.
2024. I thought it was last year you have it in there for the date, but that's okay.
So this
I
will
knew
be
what you meant.
Monday, January 11th, or
22nd.
January 22nd?
Yeah.
Correct.
I'd move to approve this.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any more discussion? Hearing none, go to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Next item we have is approving plans and specifications and authorize the bidding for the historic water tower Phase 2. Again, Jesse Dean, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So Phase 2 is essentially the window replacements, the stair rehabilitation, and some electrical and lighting work that was discussed about a year ago or so. Phase 1 was specifically the new roof that was completed. Between the remaining funds from Phase 1 and the ARPA dollars that were allocated, we have about $235,000 left for Phase 2. We have plans and specifications ready to go, so we're asking for authorization to go ahead and bid the project.
Excellent.
Excuse me.
Any questions? Yes?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve and a second. Any more discussion?
I believe the senator was going to climb those stairs once we get them fixed, right?
I believe that was the case. I don't know. She probably will hold off and say that she meant the stucco, but I would say once those stairs are done, we'll get her hoofing.
Maybe on Phase 3. All right. Any more discussion? Hearing none, go to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Item number 3 is another water tower discussion item. This is a discussion of authorization of an application for the Minnesota Historical Society grant for the historic water tower Phase 3. And again, Jesse Dean, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I put a chunk of information in here. I'll just hit some of the highlights. So as a reminder, like you mentioned, the Senator has $500,000 allocated through some federal earmarks towards the repair of the stucco on the water tower. As the Historical Society is opening the solicitation for their next round of funding, just looking to see and get some direction from the council on what we want to do. Generally, they have not awarded much more than $350,000 in any given year. And the funds that you do get, I believe, have to be used within the same year as well. Unfortunately, we don't have any local dollars budgeted or allocated towards the Phase 3. So what you'll see in here is we have some options, but to fund any of those options, obviously, we would have to come up with local dollars that we don't have current in the budget. But did just want to give some information on it. As a reminder, the partial repairs are roughly about $2.5 million. A good sized chunk of that is the scaffolding that would need to be assembled to perform the repairs. To do a full replacement, you're looking at about $3.4 million. So we put in here a few different options. One is apply for $400,000 in grant funding for doing either partial or full stucco replacement. The third option would be doing no grant application at this time. Knowing that we don't have the dollars budgeted or allocated towards the water tower in 2024, my recommendation was just be to hold off until we're able to better identify some other additional funds to supplement our own, and look forward to that.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah, Jeff, go ahead.
Is stucco the only thing we can do, Jesse? I mean, is that the... It's the only option to redo or fix it.
As it's a historic landmark, some of the requirements are you have to restore it to its original material. So we would have to repair it as stucco.
That was stucco, because I know years ago when they redid that, they put stucco on it, I thought, but what do I know? I don't remember, so.
Well, it was a single pour of concrete, but when was the stucco added? Is that kind of what you're,
I think it was, but.
or does it have to go by when it was put in the historic registry? What it appeared as?
I couldn't tell you that either, but either way, even if it was just straight concrete, it would still be a significant expense.
Right, that's why I was asking. But we're not looking at anything other than stucco.
Not currently, no.
Right, okay.
And I know we have some representation, I think, from the Water Tower Committee. Do you want to speak on this? Just name and address.
Paul Scogan, 13347 Baxter. I'm the chairman of the Water Tower Committee, and Jesse's right. We've been communicating back and forth on this, and we've got the $500,000 from the Senate if and whenever they pass that. And when Amy was here, she said that we could apply again next year. The $500,000 that we're getting from Amy when that's passed does not have to be spent on this current year. So let's say in 2025, 2024, we can ask for 1.5 million and see what happens. The only reason we asked for the 500,000 in the first place was it was a shot in the dark. And I just threw out a number and she said, yeah, fine. I would have known hindsight's 2020, I should have asked for 2 million back then. But anyway, so going forward, we got the 500,000 and then we can get more and more. Eventually we can go to the state for the grant application. But like Jesse said, anything over 350,000, they kind of limit that because of the fact they try to spread out the dollars as much as they can throughout the state. So that's kind of where we're at.
So you're in agreement with the recommendation to hold off on applying?
Yes.
The math just kind of doesn't make sense to do it right now. But focusing on phase two, and from this conversation, it kind of sounds like it's going to be years before we actually get to phase three if we go this route, unless something new comes up. Is there any risk with that stucco at this point going forward? Say if we aren't to get it completely fixed in 3, 4, or 5 years?
It's hopeful that the new roof is going to help alleviate some of the concerns that were being caused by not having the roof and the water damage. That's not to say that it's going to be impenetrable. Now that some of the pieces have fallen off, there's an avenue for water to get back there and freeze and pop out new sections. And just like anything, the more it happens, the faster it'll progress. Whether that's 3 to 4 years or 10 to 15, I couldn't tell you.
Maybe that'll save on the cost of tearing these stucco off to replace it. Never know. You gotta be positive about this kind of stuff.
We
But
don't spin that optimistic.
Yeah. I do agree. I think it's not saying that we don't want to apply for the money. It's just, it doesn't make sense to do it if we're not gonna use it. We don't want to be, we don't wanna gain that reputation of being awarded grants and then not being able to use them. So,
Well, we could use it, it's just that we would come up with the rest.
yeah, we'd only be able to go about 10 feet up the tower. I'm pretty sure it's taller than 10 feet, right?
Think so.
Okay, do we have a motion to go with option 3?
I'll make that motion.
Again, what's option 3?
The
no
option 3 is
grant
not
application?
do it right now.
I'll second that, sorry.
All right, motion and second to go with option 3. Any more discussion? Hearing none, go to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Item number 4, this is a awarding of an engineering proposal for the Laurel Street Bridge repair. And again, Jesse Dean, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So in the 2024 capital plan, we identified $75,000 to do some repairs to the Laurel Street Bridge. We have a joint that there's a rubber seal in there that's failing. It's falling through. It's one that's been repaired a couple years ago, and unfortunately, we're kind of running out of options with that type of joint. And then there's also some issues with some stormwater below the bridge that's been causing a washout in the riprap, and it's a pretty sizable one now. So we're looking at doing some repair work in 2024 before we have some larger issues with the bridge. We did reach out to a couple different engineering firms to give us a proposal on design and construction administration for the repair. We only had one of them respond, and that was Bolton and Mink, with a total a proposal of just over $40,000. So this would be the design of the repair as well as helping us through the construction of it too. Essentially what we would be doing is putting in a different kind of a joint filler that hopefully kind of kicks this down another 10, 15 years. Because the only other option would be actually to cut the joint out and replace it, and that's going to be pretty expensive. So we're hoping that this one's going to be a cost-effective way to kind of move this down a little ways before we have to do a larger rehab on it. With that, since the $40,000 is a pretty significant chunk of the $75,000, you'll see it in the next item. We're going to ask if we can request some additional state aid funds to cover the additional engineering on this project as well. As it is a state aid route, the funds to do this repair are state aid eligible.
Thank you. Sean, if you could pull up that picture. This is part of the project we're talking about for this year, correct?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Fixing the washout?
Yep.
Okay. And so Laurel Street is going to be, I assume, the main detour route for when we get to doing 210, redoing 210?
Hopefully not, actually.
Oh,
We're really trying to avoid it just because the emergency vehicle access that'll need to happen there. I think when the bridge was closed a couple years ago, there were some pretty significant traffic issues between PD and the fire department. It was pretty difficult for them. So we're trying to identify some different options for signed detours. Now, obviously, people are going to find their way whichever way they go, but as for signed detours, I think we're trying to find something else.
there's a bridge closer to 210, but it has train tracks on it.
Yeah, there aren't a lot of ways to get across the river, so good luck.
But my question is, with this, even with it being repaired, is there any evidence of structural integrity damage or a risk for this bridge at all?
Not right now. So we had the inspection done last year. This is where this was identified as well, and that's where they came up with the recommendation for this alternative joint filler. No, there's no structural damage at this time, but if that continues to wash out further, then you can potentially get into the abutment there that you can kind of see there, colorful. We have some grouted riprap, which is kind of like concrete that seals it together. You can kind of see how it's bridging the washout right now. So it's about 15 feet as of last fall. It's about 15 feet underneath that. So if you're walking across that, you're really not supported, but you probably have another 15 to 20 more feet before it actually hits the bridge. But we'd rather repair it obviously now before we get that close.
Okay. All right, do we have a motion to approve the proposal?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any more discussion? None, go to a vote. All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. All right, now this is the resolution requesting advanced municipal state aid funds for the 2024 projects. Again, Mr. Dean, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So as referenced, for our state aid dollars, we have to request future years allocations as we're currently in advanced status, which means we are below what our allocations have provided us. We're able to advance from future years as needed, provided that the state will approve those requests. So right now, we're roughly about $1.6 million in the hole, and we would be requesting an additional $600,000. We have a few different state aid projects that we have coming up here. Evergreen is a state aid route, so the rehab that we're looking at there for the patching and surface treatment there, that would be one of the eligible costs. The bridge, you'll notice, is about $115,000, so that's the $75,000 that we originally had in the budget for the construction, plus the $40,000 for the engineering proposal that we just passed, or recommended anyway. So that's in there. And then the other two projects are essentially just engineering costs. So one of them is half of the engineering for the roundabout design that we're working on at 6th and Willow. And the other one is what we're expecting for engineering costs on the 210 project through the next year. So both of those are state aid eligible, and we're able to use our state aid balance to pay for the engineering on those two projects. So right now we're recommending, requesting advance funds of 600,000 and change. There's no guarantee that the state does approve those, but we do want to continue to ask for them so we don't have to fund these using our own capital dollars. We are working on a way to come up with a solid plan to eventually get ourselves out of the hole, and we don't have to do the advancing every year. And that is something that I'm working on now that we have this grant for 210 that really changes what our plans do look like. So I want to rehab that plan and present it to the council and get some comments and thoughts at that time. But as of right now, this is something that we just have to do for 2024.
Okay. And just to clarify, you said the 210 rebuild engineering costs just for this year as part of this, or is it for multiple years?
Just for this year.
Okay.
Yep.
Is that reimbursable with the 25 million eventually when we receive those funds?
No, it is not.
It's not, okay.
Correct.
You know, I remember for sure we were doing this back when we did College Drive. We got advance on state aid. And it's like making a minimum payment on your credit card every month. It's just, but I understand why we're in. So if we used our own funds, we'd just be looking at using interest, losing our interest we'd otherwise gain on that money if we used our own funds?
So, no, we don't gain any interest on this. Really
No, I
sits
mean,
in
if we
a,
used our own funds, you're talking about using funds we have that are probably invested, is that what you're saying?
correct, yes. If
Okay.
we were to fund these with our local funds, that would be coming out of a different spot that we don't have it budgeted for either.
Yep, okay.
So,
As much I don't like. I'll move to approve this request.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any more discussion? Hearing none, go to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Our final item is direction on active code enforcement cases, and this is Mr. James Kramvik, Community Development Director. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So staff is bringing two properties before the council for review tonight. The first property is 508 North 9th Street. From the pictures, you can see there's major roof damage. Shingles that are falling off of the roof is, I guess, the primary issue. This roof was installed just a few years ago as a new roof. When this began happening, staff did see this happening, contacted the homeowner at the time, and we did hold off on sending citations as they were trying to work through the state of Minnesota with essentially faulty contracting. Since the last couple of years, we haven't really heard a lot from the property owner. They did make an indication that they're looking to potentially sell the property as is, but really hasn't moved forward with any type of repairs. Still ongoing major roof issues that need to be dealt with. So with that, staff is recommending issuing a $300 citation every month until the roof and all other property maintenance issues are corrected. Again, before the next assessment, this could potentially be waived if they want to work on it or a new owner wanted to work on installing a new roof. So that's staff recommendation for the first property. Second property is 1023 South 6th Street. This one is an unlicensed vehicle issue with no contact from the property owner. Staff recommends issuing a final 10-day ordered correct letter and upon completion of the 10 days obtaining a search warrant to tow the vehicle if the property remains non-compliant. With that, I can answer any questions.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, Mr. Chezak.
So can they do a shingle roof this kind of weather?
It's possible, if they were to even hire a contractor and obtain a new roofing permit, we could hold off on citations, but they really haven't been in contact with our department other than a few phone calls every now and then.
All right. That's all I got.
Okay. A motion to go with staff's recommendation.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any more discussion? Hearing none, go to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
And we can reconvene at the council meeting. 7:20.
Yeah. Well, 7:21.
Got time to eat your sandwich?